Welcome back to Exit 99 Sports. My name is Caleb DeLoach. I'm joined by Cody Hinkebein as always. It's been a little bit of a longer layoff than we would have liked to due to some wintry weather and had a sick child, some RSV running around that time of year. However, we're ready to wrap up, kind of the Christmas season here, the Christmas break for a lot of kids. No Christmas break for us old people, but Christmas break for basketball. Teams are kind of getting back in the flow now after the break and also all the cancellations. And, Cody, it's been a long break between podcasts, but I've seen some pretty good basketball in the meantime.
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, you had the Christmas tournament. What we're going to do is wrap it up and consolation game. Kind of start with the final day. Maybe a little surprising. The 11 seed Leopold comes out, takes consolation victory over Orion. We don't get to see these smaller schools very often throughout the year, but Leopold, I was pretty impressed with them throughout the tournament.
Yeah, Cody and I do Jackson basketball games on the radio, so we're, like you said, pretty occupied usually. Don't get to see a lot of other teams play around the area. But, yeah, Leopold had a really good tournament. It was a close ball game throughout. I was on the call with Ryan on that one, and they came away. It was a 50-43 win. I keep making the joke the whole team is just a lot of Campbells and a lot of Englands out there running around. But, the guys played really well. Riley England was really good. Preston Campbell came away as the lone player on the all-tournament team from Leopold. He had 17 in that ball game. And, I was really impressed with Leopold. They only have 3 seniors on their team. So, I expect to see them in the Christmas tournament, maybe ranked even higher next year.
Yeah, kind of survived, if you will, an overtime game. They're 2 days before against Advance, beat them, and then, like you said, the 11 seed takes 9th place. As we move on to the 5th place game, 2 teams who a lot of people didn't expect to be there, but that was the 3 seed versus the 4 seed. Charleston and Notre Dame, they meet up a few times a year, and this one was a defensive game.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was very ugly basketball, 39-26. Notre Dame came away with the victory. It was tough to watch for stretches. Charleston didn't hit the 20-point mark until that fourth quarter. They only had 2 points the entire third quarter. They had 2 points for about a quarter and a half of the second half. It was a rough watch and a rough game to call there on the radio, but Notre Dame, got the win. You could say maybe they were both a little dejected, kind of having to come out, play in that 5th place game, maybe not when they're used to playing or where they want to be at in that game, but we'll call it a good defensive game. Notre Dame did play really good defense. I'll say they guarded really well. They took away the paint very well against Charleston, but both teams really had a tough time just hitting shots. And something I saw was a interview with Coach Brinkmeyer. He's like, these are the 6th time these two teams have played each other in a calendar year. So it kind of gets rough after so many times seeing the same people over and over again.
Yeah, we joked for a lot of the rest of that evening, but I never remember a game where Charleston didn't score a field goal in a quarter. There in that third quarter, did not have a field goal, just a couple free throws, and then it took a little bit into the fourth quarter. But, yeah, very good job there by Notre Dame holding Charleston to 26 points and getting the 5th place victory.
Yeah, and then in that 3rd place game, the two traditionally smaller schools that knocked out the 2 SEMO conference teams, Scott City and Woodland. 2 teams that people had high expectations of coming into the tournament. I know you had both of them winning their games and getting to that 3rd place game. So,
yeah,
it was a great game, back and forth game, high scoring game as opposed to most of the games there on championship night. Woodland came away 81-76 over Scott City. These are probably the two best non-SEMO conference teams in Southeast Missouri. And it's definitely a game I expect to see again later in the year. I don't believe they're scheduled to play each other, but they will most likely see each other in Class 3, District 2.
Yeah, Woodland, I had that game, could have coin flipped either way. First one to 80, we joked, would win that one. We knew it was going to be an up-and-down game, and, they're 1-2 in their district right now. Woodland's only loss, Scott City's only 2 losses coming in this tournament. So both of them are undefeated outside the Christmas tournament. I expect that to kind of be district championship there, Class 3, District 2.
Yeah, and 2 of the teams kind of outside of Cape County, still close by in the area, but 2 of the teams I'm definitely going to be watching every game I can of theirs the rest of the way. Scott City was supposed to play Cape the other day. That got canceled because of a gym issue. Woodland was supposed to play Notre Dame. That got canceled due to weather, so we'll see if those get made up. But, yeah, I'll definitely be watching those two teams as they go on, both awesome. Scott City, a lot of young guys played really well. And then Woodland, all the guards, Kinder, Lee, Layton, Shock, all those guys, Van Gennep, they just played really, really well. They have a great guard rotation. So they're a really fun team to watch. I'm excited to kind of see where they go from here and see which one of those teams comes out of their district. Might be able to make a little bit of a state run.
Yeah, both teams actually play well defense. You say high-scoring game, kind of the defense was let down. No, there was a lot of good defensive plays there. Just offense prevailed there in the Woodland game.
Yeah, and then, the big one, the championship, Cape and Jackson, the two crosstown rivals getting to meet in the championship game, the third straight time both teams have seen each other in the championship game. Cape had won the last two. Jackson finally gets over the hump. You and I both predicted. I did make the joke that we were being homers. We were right. They were right. Jackson did win 50-41 over Cape. It was a great game. It was a fun game. It was low scoring, obviously close, but well played by both teams. It started out Cape early. I thought Cape might roll to a little bit of a big win. They were up 8-1 really quickly to start the game. However, Jackson just kind of settled down and took over the game. And once they took a lead, they never really gave it back almost the rest of the ballgame.
Yeah, I got to call this one on the radio with Ryan. We enjoyed that. And you've seen that a few times out of Jackson this year where they've gotten down early, fight back into the game. This was a 9-point win for Jackson. Really was closer there in the fourth quarter. We joked as we went to commercial break, hey, it's going to be a 5-point game with 4 minutes to go. Kind of buckle up, and that's exactly what happened. We got to the 4-minute mark. It was a 5-point game, and could have went either way. Jackson's defense really prevailed there towards the end.
Yeah, they did a good job. Cape has two guys traditionally that are really good scorers each game in, game out. Tyshandre Edwards, Marquet Mills. Mills played really well. He scored really well at the rim, knocked down a couple of shots. But they did a really good job on Tyshandre Edwards, I thought, especially early in the game. They made him take a lot of perimeter threes, which he is a good shooter. But that's not the game he wants to play. He's 6'7", super athletic, able to get to his spots usually. But the Jackson defense did a really good job of holding on to Tyshandre Edwards. And something else I noted, Cole Deck only scored 3 points in the second half, and Jackson was able to, win a ball game without him having to carry him throughout.
Yeah, you're gonna see that a lot out of Jackson. Lockdown on the defensive side. We saw there late in the game. Defense just like the big steal there, Blaine Reagan going in, and then Jackson gonna win some games at the free throw line.
Yeah, they did a good job, closed it out. It was a fun game. Jackson's first championship since the 2013-2014 season. Carson King, Blake Reynolds, all those guys. So, that was a fantastic team, and took a decade, but Jackson got over the hump. They avoided I heard this somewhere, they avoided a potential bad record of losing 4 straight championship games. Nobody had ever done that before. They lost 3 straight, the last 2 to Cape, 1 to Charleston. Yeah, they got over the hump, got the win. It was exciting. Big atmosphere, big game there on the Show Me Center court. Really big crowd for the championship. So it was a fun night.
I said Reagan there. That was a different game. Jory Toma, I think.
Toma, I think he had that steal.
I want to be sure I get the right person. Jory Toma, the big steal there at the end.
Yeah, another, good tournament for the Indians. They win that one. They got third at the SEMO Conference tournament. They got second up at Borgia. So, the Indians have played well in tournament so far this season, and once again, not surprising, Cole Deck played really well in the tournament. He had 19 points a game. He was on the all-tournament team, the lone Indian on the all-tournament team, which I thought was interesting. But, yeah, he's the lone Indian on there. And, yeah, great start to the season coming out of the Christmas tournament. Jackson only 2 losses, maybe a little bit of a surprise to some people, especially with how much they lost. And it was just kind of, you knew he had Cole Deck, but who else was going to step up? And it's been different guys kind of every night. The guards have started playing a lot better, though, I think. I think those guys have really turned it on, like you said, Blaine Reagan, Jory Toma, a couple of young guys really getting used to their role, getting more minutes here for the varsity team.
Yeah, I think you've seen that a lot since Coach Toma kind of took over. Different guys each night, and we hear Coach Brownsberger after each game, say the same thing. Hey, different guys stepped up tonight. Defense, offense, can get it done in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I guess we can stick with the Indians. Cody and I saw a really, really good game on this past Saturday for us, the 4th of January. They played Farmington, who came into that game undefeated. They were number 6 in Class 5, and another good game. Jackson fell behind in that one, fell behind early big by 12. Another, like we said, it happens a lot to the Indians, but they settled down, leaned on their defense, and held a very good Farmington team to only 48 points, won that one 54-48.
Yeah, if we're being frank, it was one of those games we knew would be a struggle coming into for Jackson. Got some good shooters, one guy who you really got to guard, and Jackson just able to lock down on the defensive end. We've said it time and time again this season, but lowest scoring output for their opponent. Jackson holds Farmington to their lowest score of the season, 48 points.
Yeah, Jackson's defense has been phenomenal, and like we said, it starts with the guards. The guards have been playing phenomenal defense, like we keep saying over and over again. Reagan, both Thomas have been playing really well on the perimeter. Will Thomas, Walker Matthews, when they get in the game, have been playing really well. Cole Deck, using his length, gets a lot of help side blocks, uses his length to get steals, plays well. And then the big guys have played big, Braden Thompson, Lee Ivey, Austin Criddle, maybe not the traditional, hulking big guys Jackson might have had over the last, 15, 20 years. But they play really good defense. They're in the right position. They use their size well. They use their body around the rim. Braden Thompson takes a million charges. Mm-hmm. And then John Ernst has started coming on. In that Farmington game, he led the Indians in scoring. That was the other, biggest story out of the Farmington game. He had 14. Cole Deck only held to 10, and Jackson beat a state-ranked team in that one.
Yeah, the big block off the backboard there by Ernst that led to bucket the other way. I mean, you could name a few different defensive plays in that one that led to Jackson kind of coming out of there with the win.
Yeah, and something that's kind of become a theme is Jory Toma. You mentioned the steal and layup that kind of pushed Jackson ahead in the Cape game. He had a similar situation. Farmington, he was open from three. Sophomore stepped up, knocked down a big three in that one to give Jackson their lead by 3 there late in the fourth quarter. Got a couple stops, free throws, won the ball game there. And then the other night, Jackson went down to Kennett, and it was kind of a similar situation, very close ball game throughout. And then it was Jory Toma kind of stepping up, being the hero late, knocking down a three. It's kind of exciting. I feel like he's definitely a guy that can step into that maybe number 2 role for the Indians. It's been a different guy, feels like every night, but I feel like he has kind of that talent to be that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that Kennett game, it was not a pretty ball game. It was a tough environment, packed house. I was there by myself, and so Jackson struggled a little bit at times to hit shots around the rim, kind of how we talked about the Notre Dame-Charleston game. A million shots around the rim just didn't fall. A lot of good looks Jackson had. Shots just weren't falling, but the defense stepped up when it needed to, especially down the stretch. Jackson, again, they fell behind. It trailed in that ball game by 6, I believe. So it was a very close game, but Jackson fell behind in the second quarter. They got into a press. Hadn't seen a lot of pressing from the Indians. They got into a press, turned over Kennett a few times, took a lead at halftime. It was tied at the end of the third quarter. And yeah, Jackson just made plays down the stretch. Cole Deck had 23 in that ball game, and Jory Toma had 18. So he did step into that, literally that second option scoring role. I mean, he was fantastic throughout, and obviously Cole did a good job, got to the rim. Not a lot of perimeter shooting from Cole. I feel like that's kind of been a theme. He's been getting to the rim quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Can beat his guy off the dribble. Whenever you have a guard that tall, shoot over people. Very good in the spot up 10 to 12-footer. Cole Deck can kind of do it all, but has given the ball up a lot lately. And you like to see him grow into that, become more of an assist man, and those shots open up.
Yeah, because as the season goes on, teams, we've already seen it. In that Kennett game, they were playing a box and one to start, and it's going to be that way the rest of the season. People know he's Class 6 All-State guy. He came into that game averaging 24, I think I had him at per game, and so people are going to be taking notice, obviously, and so, like you said, it's good for him to keep being a distributor, obviously score when the option's available, but keep being a distributor and keep getting different guys confidence like we've seen.
Yeah, so coming up for them at Hillsboro on Tuesday night. Hillsboro 6-5 on the season, so I seen where they had a few games. Jackson interest, they lost to Farmington by 16. I think last week they lost at Borgia by 14. So a couple of games there, a couple of teams Jackson has seen. So definitely a winnable game for Jackson there.
Yeah, definitely a winnable game, but kind of like we saw against Kennett, anytime you go on the road, it was a conference game, so obviously that a little bit more juice, but anytime you go on the road in this area, it's going to be tough. Hillsboro, traditionally a pretty good team. They're in the first year under new coach DJ Hardy, and he came from DeSoto. And so pretty good team. They're averaging 56 a game. They're giving up 51. Jackson obviously playing good defense. I got them at 46 per game allowed. So the Indians have been playing really good defense. I expect it to be more of that. It has been, something I saw Coach Brownsberger. He said in the post game, he said on Facebook the other day, they don't give out awards for style points, and Jackson has not won a lot of style points. The Indians rarely are blowing anybody out, but they keep getting wins, and that's all that matters. Kind of playing close ball games. Jackson has shown that they're able to get stops when they need them, but also hit free throws when they need them and make plays down the stretch.
Yeah, and then you get into kind of the conference slate. 3 straight home games after that for Jackson. You got the 21st, 24th, and 28th, Poplar Bluff, Cape Central, Notre Dame. So,
yeah, that's a brutal stretch.
Yeah, pretty big games there for Jackson. You look at, I think all those teams kind of hovering around. Bluff for sure hovering around the 500 mark. I think Central moved up to 8-4 now. So that'd be a big one. They'll be looking to get revenge. That, like I said, all 3 of those games at home.
Yeah, a good stretch there. All those games are going to be at home, like you said. So a week straight of basketball after this week against Hillsborough. Only one game this week at Hillsborough. No Friday night game for the Indians. So yeah, the 21st, 24th, 28th. 3 home games. So if you are an Indian fan, get out to the event center. Go watch some good basketball. It'll be, conference games, conference rivalry games. Jackson, Poplar Bluff. More of a gridiron rivalry, but those are 2 teams that saw each other, felt like every single season for about a decade in the district championship or semifinals in basketball in Class 5, District 1. So, and obviously Cape, Notre Dame. Not a lot do you have to say about that. Both teams with about 5 minutes away from Jackson, so it'll be a big-time week stretch for the Indians. We'll see how they handle it. Both teams, or all 3 of those teams, will come in fired up, trying to get a road victory at Jackson. So moving on to some more teams in this area. Obviously, Cape Central was the team that Jackson knocked off in the Christmas Tournament Championship. Just kind of my thoughts about Cape at this point. Tyshaundre Edwards, he's the guy. He's the focal point. He was the lone returning starter from last year's team. He has the ability to score 20 every game, but he's got to just keep finding his spots, keep, being patient, doing what he does well, as opposed to, the Jackson game where he really felt like he forced shots. The first time they played, he did a good job getting to his spots, hit open mid-range jumpers, did a good job getting to the rim. That game, he struggled a bit more, doesn't need to force as many threes unless they're going in. But the one guy who's really impressed me this season, Marquez Mills, he's been fantastic. 15 points a game. Every time I see him, he's playing well. 3-level scorer, very athletic. He's been very fun to watch.
Yeah, I really like their guards, and they'll give you fits. They'll be up on you. Marquez Mills, Mateo Rivers, Sims. I really like the way they play and try to speed you up a little bit. Cape Central's played that way the last couple of years, but and then finding each other in transition. Goliath Morris Young, the sophomore, kind of getting it done on both ends. I like the way he plays around the rim. Good team, all-around team.
Yeah, they've been very fun to watch. I mean, the only issue for Cape Central, in my opinion, at this point is, kind of the depth outside of Edwards, Goliath Morris Young, Rivers, Mills, Antonio Sims. That's their starting 5. Can you get production or at least good minutes defensively to turn into offense from the bench? That's really been the only question mark so far. Obviously, like you said, that 5 is really good. Their guards are really good. Edwards and Morris Young play really good defense inside. It's just, what do you have behind them? Can some of those guys start stepping up here as the season goes on?
Yep.
Yeah, they are playing well. Like you said, 8-4. They just came off a big win over Dexter. They crushed Dexter at the current junior high, the old high school gym. They had something called a throwback night. It's been 35 years since they won their state title it's been 45 years since 1980?
Yep.
45 years since 1980. Trying to make myself feel a little bit younger. 45 years since 1980. They got the throwback night at the junior high. Yeah, they just cruised to a victory over Dexter. They stifled Dexter defensively. They just used their pressure to steamroll the Bearcats 55-36. Edwards has 16, Mills had 15, Rivers had 10, so kind of the same story, different night. Those 3 guys doing a lot of the scoring. It'll be fun to watch Cape the rest of the way. They have a really big-time matchup coming up this Tuesday against Notre Dame.
Yeah, home game for Cape Central. They'll host Notre Dame, and then I seen where the Cape at Scott City game rescheduled for the 20th. So a big week for Cape Central as they're going to play Notre Dame at Scott City, then New Madrid County, all there before the Jackson game. So pretty big into the month. 6 games left here in January for Cape Central. So going to be pretty busy for them.
Yeah, I know a lot of people excited to see that Scott City game. Scott City kind of blew out Notre Dame in the Christmas tournament, beat them 80-63. And so people are kind of interested to see how that game's going to go. You know, Cape Central will have to go to Scott City. I think it'd be a good game. You know, Scott City has kind of a similar situation where they have 5 starters that can all score really well. Yep. And so to be who's 5 is better in that night, in my opinion.
Yeah, could see that one getting up there. I mean, obviously both those teams like to play up and down. Both teams can play without fouling. So, yeah, that may be a first to 80 wins type game again. Be interesting to see that one.
Yeah, good win against Dexter, getting a conference victory, every conference victory. Valuable, especially early on here in the season, just on the other side of the new year. And then finally, you can talk about Notre Dame a little bit. They just crushed New Madrid. I watched that game online. They played at New Madrid. New Madrid, not what they have been with, you know, Jadis Jones, BJ Williams, and all those guys graduating. So they're a very young team, pretty inexperienced team, and Notre Dame just really used their talent advantage, just ran over New Madrid in that one.
Yeah, so they have at Cape Central, obviously, on the 14th, and then Kennett, who we just saw kind of hang with Jackson a little bit. So not an easy kind of pushover game. I know they were a lower seed at the conference tournament, but Kennett on the 17th. So a couple of games here this coming week for Notre Dame.
Yeah, we mentioned how their game against Woodland got postponed. Hopefully we get to see that game, Notre Dame-Woodland. Be a fun potential matchup, obviously. A lot of people want to see those matchups between SEMO Conference and the really good other small schools in the area. So we'll see if that game gets rescheduled. But yeah, Notre Dame playing well. It's a lot of the same guys you see night in, night out. The big 2 for them, Colton Johnson and Brett Dohan inside. You know, we've seen those guys now several times. They played Jackson. They played well in the Christmas tournament. They played well in the SEMO Conference tournament. And it's just, you know, who around those guys can score, kind of take some of the pressure off. Obviously, teams know what to expect. Dohan, no matter who you have, is going to be tough to stop inside. In my opinion, maybe the best just pure scorer around the rim in the SEMO Conference. What do you say?
Yeah, both of them make the all-tournament team at the Christmas tournament. And then, yeah, you mentioned it, 10 seniors. So a lot of guys that can – I know you get Brody Harden out there, Londaways. I mean – a lot of guys around him, and then you have an underclassman, sophomore Hudson Dennis, who finishes around the rim, makes his impact felt on the defensive end also.
Yeah, and he did really well in that New Madrid game I watched, and he, you know, because New Madrid, they did lose a lot, but they did bring back 2 starters inside, Cranford and Ramon Brooks, both big guys, and Dennis, only a sophomore, super athletic, big body. He scored double digits. I think he had 14 in that New Madrid game, and he's one of those people who, if he is hitting that, you know, 12, 14, 16 mark for Notre Dame alongside Dohan Johnson, you know, Londaways, you know, Schumacher, all those guys that they're playing the way they played. And Notre Dame really could beat just about anybody in the SEMO Conference. I mean, we saw, you know, everybody kind of knows the class of the SEMO Conference is Sykeston, but not too long ago, Notre Dame did play at Sykeston, really took it to the Bulldogs. It was set 62-53 at Sykeston. Brett Dohan had, I think, 27 in that game. So Notre Dame's one of those teams that, you know, they're hovering around 500, but they can really beat anybody they play here in the SEMO Conference.
Yeah, you mentioned that, hovering around 500, but still, I think Class 4 District 1, I think they're the best record in their district. So they're in the likes of Dexter, Perryville, Kennett. So definitely a winnable district there for Notre Dame. I think they'll be vying for a district championship.
Yeah, definitely looking ahead that far. I think Notre Dame is in a good spot in their district. Yep. You know, like you said, Dexter, pretty tough team. They have solid guards, one good big man, and the Ibrahim kid. We've seen Dexter play a few games, and then Kennett. I mean, I just saw Kennett play. They played really well. They have a couple of guys that can really score it. You know, if you're playing Dyson Watson, he's one of the more impressive just guard scorers. Found a lot of ways to get himself open. That was a very fun game to watch between Jackson and Kennett, and Jackson did just enough to win. So, yeah, it'll be exciting here as we start this kind of second half of the season, even though it's still pretty early technically in a lot of schedules. Yep. Starting the new year. A lot of good games coming up for teams. You know, we talk a lot about Jackson, Cape, Notre Dame. Obviously, those teams are all going to play big SEMO conference games. I know the Indians still have games against Ladue, Webster Groves, so some big out-of-conference games for Jackson coming up, and that'll be exciting to see how they match up to people outside of the area. But yeah, Jackson has started the season 13-2, maybe better than a lot of people have started. I feel like they revel in that a little bit. I think I saw that in an interview Cole Deck did. He likes the fact that they're able to prove people wrong, and they've been doing it here throughout the season.
Yeah, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the season this was going to be a team that would probably cruise to 20 wins, I'd have said maybe a little overzealous there. But yeah, Jackson 13-2 and really a team that could get up to 20, 25 wins this season.
Yeah, so I mean, that about does it. I can get that out. That about does it for all the basketball in the area, or the boys basketball in the area. Cody and I took a peek at the girls basketball. There hasn't been a lot of games played for a lot of girls teams in the area. Jackson, the class, I would say, of Southeast Missouri, they're 8-1. They lost their last game in the Christmas tournament to St. Vincent, but that was December 20th. And so they're going to go over 3 weeks before they play another game. You have it up. They play at Farmington. That'll be a good game. I know Farmington's traditionally a very good team, so Jackson girls, we want to talk about you. We just got to play games first. All right. Since we started doing this, Jackson hasn't played a game, so we'll definitely be excited to see them get to play. Yeah, they're 8-1. Haven't played in a long time. They have a good team. A lot of young girls. Kate Dick, Addison Henderson, along with Cameron Alsdorf, Lily Cole. So really good team. I'm excited to get to see them actually play some games. Getting away, just a couple extra shout out. Jackson boys wrestling, been awesome. I know they're undefeated in their dual matches this year. A guy you and I saw some of, Bryson Wessel, left tackle for the Indians, having a great year. I saw he won a tournament up at Granite City. I saw he wrestled well up in Kansas City in a huge tournament. Him, Cade King, Grady Rice all came away winning their tournaments up in Kansas City and placed well. Cade King got second at Granite City. Grady Rice got third at Granite City. Yeah, so I mean, Jackson wrestling, something else we'll be keeping our eye on every year. Coach Walker's been there for a very long time, has them producing at a high level always.
For sure. Yeah, Jackson wrestling always going to be there, always going to send some kids to state, and look forward to watching them. Yeah,
can't wait to talk about more of them. I guess last final shout out, somebody kind of from the area, played at SEMO, Carl Ritter Sr., and passed away, an all-time leading scorer at SEMO. Jersey retired. I know his son, Carl Ritter Jr., area volleyball coach, NSSC. And so, yeah, sad to see, but, a long life, 84 years, and just an all-time great player, all-time great guy in the area. Yeah, so that will, I think, wrap it up. Cody, you have anything else you want to cover here?
That does it.
So, yeah, that just about does it for us. It's been a slow week of basketball, a lot of snow, a lot of ice. Hopefully we don't see any more of that as we have a lot more good games coming up, Cody.
Yeah, going to try to wrap this up. Obviously, getting through this conference slate here towards the end of this week and month, and try to get one of these done maybe once a week and keep you updated on the games and for sure Cape County around the area.
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, listening. It's a lot of fun. Best of luck. Stay warm and have a great day.